Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, it has been an unbelievable 48 to 72 hours over the weekend in Minneapolis, St. Paul, which has now become, without question, the epicenter of a showdown between the left, rogue Democrats, radical Democrats, Antifa, which is now taking over the streets of downtown Minneapolis, and a showdown with ICE, federal authority, the federal government, federal law enforcement. So, over the weekend, starting Friday night, unbelievably, you saw members of Antifa, anti-ICE activists, liberals, Democrats descend on Minneapolis. And in particular, they have taken over and hijacked the streets. Boulevard after boulevard, street after street. It is mayhem. It is chaos. It is absolute pandemonium. They are now lying bodies on the roads so no traffic can pass. Thousands now have set up encampments. In fact, in downtown Minneapolis, you almost laugh because it's almost got a circus-like absurd quality to it. There's one guy playing the drums, like in a band, right in the middle of the road. He's just banging away, playing the drums. And people are protesting. And anyway, they're now targeting hotels. Hotels where they believe ICE agents are staying at. And they're going into one hotel after another. They are smashing windows. They've gone into the lobby. They suspect that ICE is staying there. They are tearing up the lobby, destroying the lobby, occupying the lobby. They're demanding that they hand over the list of customers, and they want to know if ICE agents are staying, and they're going hotel to hotel to hotel. They surrounded, apparently, ICE agents in one hotel, and they began to smash windows, graffiti everywhere, F ICE. They poured into the lobby, and everything started to get destroyed. The police are now being grilled. They are now being condemned for literally surrendering downtown Minneapolis. Car after car, vehicle after vehicle, including the police chief, Brian O'Hara, that scumbag. They just left. They literally just left. They got into their police cruisers. He waved his hand like, come on, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. As they were being spit on by protesters, anti-ICE activists, saying, get the F out of Minneapolis, get the F out of Minnesota. So now the protesters are demanding not just that ICE leave Minneapolis, not just that ICE ICE be abolished, but that local police surrender the entire city. We're back to Black Lives Matter. That local police now must cede the streets to the anti-ICE protesters. They want the police out. They want the police defunded and abolished. Jacob Frey has surrendered downtown Minneapolis. Tim Walz has surrendered downtown Minneapolis. To me now, there is no question. President Trump needs to invoke the Insurrection Act. In fact, I don't know now at this point what he's waiting for. And he needs to send in the National Guard. I am talking thousands and thousands of troops before Minneapolis begins to go up in flames. Let me just give you a taste of the anarchy, the circus-like atmosphere, the chaos that has now taken over downtown Minneapolis. Roll cut 27, Mike.
We hate you!
Get your camera.
Get the out of here!
And then finally pepper spray had to be deployed. They're hitting agents, the ICE agents, police officers. They're hitting them, striking them, assaulting them, attacking their vehicles. They're rabid. There's just no other way to put it. They're rabid. The F-bombs are flying. They look almost like possessed. And I blame the media. I blame the media. I blame Jacob Frey, the boy mayor of Minneapolis, who's an absolute buffoon. I blame Tampon Tim. I blame liberals. I blame the Democrats. They keep calling the shooting a murder. They keep calling ICE Nazis and Gestapo. They keep asking people to take it to the streets. They keep demanding and insisting that ICE now forfeit any ability to deport illegal aliens, that they are now behaving as modern-day Gestapo thugs who are just shooting people for the hell of it. The media narrative is now, if you can believe it, Renee Good, the woman, the mother who was killed, fatally shot after she blocked ICE agents and tried to run an agent over, was shot in the face simply for dropping her child off at school. That's the narrative now. That the lie, the big lie, that the Democrats are pushing, the media is pushing, led by CNN and MS Now, and they should be utterly ashamed of themselves. But especially by Frey and Waltz. Like, she just dropped her child, her 6-year-old son off, and then decided to take a right turn, and there was an agent, and the agent saw her, and 3 bullets to the head. And I'm not kidding. These idiots in Minneapolis, these hardcore Antifa, anti-ICE activists, are either they believe it or they're pretending to believe it and using it as an excuse to run wild. Whatever it is, at this point now, we have an anarchy, we have an insurrection taking place. Now, as all of this is going on, there is now stunning new cell phone video footage that has emerged. It is, in fact, video footage from the cell phone of the ICE agent himself, Jonathan Ross, who was taping the incident as it took place. That footage has now been released. And what it clearly shows, and there's a second round of footage that clearly shows 2 things. Number 1, Renee Good and her wife, Rebecca Good, were there for 3.5 minutes, blocking and obstructing ICE during a law enforcement operation. There is now no question. Her car was parked deliberately perpendicular on the road. She then, I'm talking about the driver, Renee Good, begins to blow her horn repeatedly, almost like in a song-like mode. Dun, 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 dun. And you can see her in her car dancing, going back and forth in the car. One direction to the other, one side to the other, as she keeps honking and honking and honking and honking for 3.5 minutes. So, she wasn't just dropping off her kid and then just got shot in the head. But even more damning and explosive. And this should end the debate, but the left doesn't want it to end the debate. The cell phone footage from Jonathan Ross, the ICE agent who ended up fatally shooting Renee, has now been released. It shows him coming towards her car, her SUV. He calmly gets out of the car. The first point I want to stress, he never says a word to either Renee Good or Rebecca Good, the wife. He never takes the bait. He's never provoked. He literally doesn't say a word. He's completely calm. And he's going around her car with the cell phone on to document it. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let me play first, before I play the cell phone footage of the ICE agent who ended up fatally shooting Renee Good. It clearly exonerates him. There's no question now. Okay, no question. But before that, there's another video cell phone footage. This came from a neighbor from a home on the second floor window. And what it shows is Renee Good in her car dancing to her own car horn. In other words, she's blocking ICE, and you can see she's completely blocking the road, and she's there for at least 3.5 minutes, and she's honking, 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 and you can see her just going side to side as if she's like kind of like, you know, gyrating or dancing to the beat of her constantly hitting her horn. Roll cut 30A, Mike. Okay, and this goes on. I'm not kidding. I could go do it for 3.5 minutes. I don't want to bore you. It goes on for 3.5 minutes. Now, ICE has finally had enough. And just so that all of you know, they were in the midst of a law enforcement operation. You want to know what this woman died for? Forgive me. I'm sorry she passed away and she died. I'm sorry she was killed. But, you know, she's a mother. She's got a 6-year-old son. She died in the process of obstructing ICE from capturing an illegal alien Somali rapist. They were in the process of trying to arrest a rapist from Somalia, an illegal alien. That's who you're defending? That's who you're protecting? So, this is now the cell phone footage from the ICE agent who fatally shot Renee. He comes up with his car. He gets out. Again, as I said in my opening monologue, he never says a word to either Renee or her wife, Rebecca. Rebecca, the wife, wearing sunglasses, is outside the car. The agent is calmly going around the car. You first see him videotaping Renee Good. She's taunting him. She's smug. She looks smug. She's taunting him, saying, I'm sorry I'm ruining your day. I'm sorry I'm ruining your day. It's all a big gag to her. It's a big joke. And then you've got Rebecca, who's mocking him, saying, we don't change our license plate every morning. Because he's taking a picture of her license plate, or he's videotaping her license plate. You don't need to keep videotaping our license plate. And then as he continues to walk around the car, he completely ignores her. She starts going on about, you want to come at us? You want to come at us? You want to come at us? So she's taunting him. She's trash talking him. And then she says, why don't you go get some lunch, big boy? Now, at that point, you see the other agent. This is from the other angle, from the other side of the car, the SUV, where there's F-bombs flying, so I'll clean it up. He says, get the blank out of the car. Get the blank out of the car. And you hear him grab the handle of where the driver's side door to get Renee Good out of the car. At that point, from the ICE agent's cell phone vantage point, okay, his point of view, you're now looking at Rebecca Good on the other side of the SUV. She turns around and she tries to open the passenger door, but the passenger door is locked. So then she says, and here are the fatal words, drive, baby, drive. In other words, even though she heard that the police gave her a lawful command to exit the vehicle, that they were going to place Renee Good under arrest, that they were clearly impeding an ICE operation, there's no question. She tells her wife, drive, baby, drive. You see Renee Good back up the car for a couple of feet. You then see her put the car in drive. The police officer is now right in front of the car. And he goes, oh, because she guns it right to him. Right to him. And that's when the shots are gone. He gets hit, and that's when 3 shots are fired. It's like in a split second. Boom, boom, boom. Now, at this point, there is no question. There's no question that Renee Good did everything possible to get herself shot. I'm sorry. She was stupid. I feel very bad for her. I wish she hadn't died. I feel bad for her. I feel bad for that crazy wife of hers, who I think bears now clearly partial responsibility for what happened. There's no question. And I feel very sorry for her child. But she interfered with a law enforcement operation. 2, she refused a lawful order to exit her car. 3, she backed up her 2-ton SUV. It's a 2-ton weapon while being ordered to exit her car. She then aimed that SUV at an ICE agent. Okay, a tale of 2 cities, as they say. The Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul. On the one hand, over the weekend, it started Friday night in particular, bedlam. Absolute mayhem and bedlam. Thousands, and I mean thousands, of anarchists, Antifa, anti-ICE activists, insurrectionists, domestic terrorists, just rampaged on the streets of downtown Minneapolis. They went from hotel to hotel to hotel, searching for ICE agents to drive them out of these hotels and to drive them out of Minneapolis. As they went to hotels, destroying windows, smashing the lobby, going into the lobby, tearing up the lobby, in a rabid, foaming at the mouth search for any ICE agent they could find. Police, local and state police, surrendered. They just surrendered. They began to get pelted with rocks, with objects, with bottles. They were spit on. Some were punched and kicked. And instead of protecting the hotels, preserving law and order, by the way, the boulevards, the main streets, completely blocked and occupied. Completely. There's traffic can't get in, traffic can't get out. The police, it was like a retreating army. I've never seen this. Someone gave the order. I suspect it's from the mayor, Minneapolis, Frey, that coward. And they just said, let's get out, pull out, pull out, pull out. And the police chief was there on the scene. And he was waving officers, forget the hotels, abandon the streets, just get out. And so you see them basically rushing to their vehicles as they're being pummeled, and objects are being thrown at them by this rampaging mob. And it's one police cruiser, one police SUV with their sirens on, their lights and sirens, and they're just leaving. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, one after another. They're all flying out of Minneapolis, downtown Minneapolis. So they completely surrendered. They ran away with their tail between their legs. Now, as this is going on, there is now this bombshell new cell phone video footage that I talked about last segment. Let me play it again. This is the cell phone footage from the ICE agent himself, Agent Jonathan Ross, who ended up fatally shooting Renee Good. So you can see it clearly from his perspective. Roll cut 30, Mike.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you. Show your face. I'm not mad at you. It's okay. We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the car. Oh!
And that's it. I mean, that's it. That's how fast it unfolded. So let me I'll play it one more time, then I promise I'm going to go to the calls, okay? If you can I know most of you have probably seen it, but there are some of you who have not seen it. So let me just visualize it for you. What you hear, the initial sirens, that's Agent Ross, the agent that ends up shooting Renee. He's now on the scene. He gets out of his car. He starts walking around Renee's car. Now, she's been blocking traffic now for forever and playing, honking the horn and dancing in her car. And so as he's walking by, she's saying, she's got a smug look on her face. She's taunting him. She's looking at him, almost like smiling, laughing. Like, what are you going to do about it? And she says, I'm sorry we ruined your day. I'm sorry we ruined your day. And then you have the wife, Rebecca. What the hell is she doing there? She's outside of the car with her own cell phone. And that's when she says about the license plates. Hey, we don't change our license plates every morning. You don't have to keep, videotaping it. But he's just walking around the car, taking a picture, taking video footage of the car, the license plate, Renee Good, the driver, Rebecca, who's her partner in crime. And as he's walking by, Rebecca Good, the wife, follows him. She's following him. And then she says, you want to come at us? You want to come at us? She's taunting him. Okay, she's asking for trouble. The woman is an idiot. I'm sorry, she's an absolute idiot. Both of them are idiots. I'm sorry. Okay? But Rebecca Good in particular. And then she says, why don't you go get yourself some lunch, big boy? Now, right at that moment, you hear a voice. That's from the other side of the SUV on Renee's side. And that's an ICE agent saying, get the F out of the car. Get the F out of the car. Like, you're under arrest. And then he tries to grab the handle. And that's when Rebecca turns around and says, drive, baby, drive. And Renee Good basically listened to her wife. She didn't listen to the police. And she backs up 2 feet. She puts it in park. The car is clearly, her SUV is clearly aimed at the agent. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. This is undeniable, unquestionable. And then she drives like her wife told her to. She gunned the engine. She accelerated. Now, she was going to run that agent over. She hits him. You can see him get hit. Okay? But he jumps. He's kind of jumping, and she still hits him. And then 3 quick shots. Bang, bang, bang. And then what you hear at the tail end is her car, because she hit the accelerator so hard, her car is still going for about another, 30, 40 feet. The car is just driving down the road and eventually crashes into a parked car. And then you hear, the horn. Let me play it one more time. Roll cut 30, Mike. Cut 30, Mike.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you. Show your face. I'm not mad at you. It's okay. We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I said go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the car. Oh!
Jonathan Ross, just so that you know, to put a bow on this, if you can put a bow on this. Jonathan Ross, you now know the whole story. He was doxxed. He was doxxed by people in the disgusting vermin media. They want to destroy him. In fact, they basically have put a bounty on his head. That's why they released his name. He is now in hiding. His family is in hiding. He has received countless death threats. He essentially now is dead man walking. He is a 10-year member of Border Patrol. He works for their special tactical unit. He is a man, he's a veteran. He's a man of immense experience. As I mentioned last week, he was also involved just in June of last year, okay, only several months ago, in an incident where an illegal alien, a sex predator, tried to run him over and then literally dragged him for about 100 yards and tore up his right arm, his left arm, and his leg. He was lucky to be alive. He was hospitalized for injuries. He is also a former member of the military. He's a veteran. He and his wife, who happens to be a Filipina, and their children are now essentially in hiding. Rebecca Good has now received over $1 million. Okay, let me ask all of you, and this is coming from Sandy, and I think Sandy hit the nail right on the head. Say this wasn't a radical leftist, and that's what Renee Good was, a radical leftist. She was a Bernie supporter. She was part of an ICE Watch network. She was an anti-ICE, hardcore anti-ICE activist. She enrolled her 6-year-old son in a charter school where they prioritize left-wing social activism over learning. Reading, writing, math, geography, science, whatever. That doesn't matter. What matters is being a social justice warrior. Say this wasn't a radical leftist. Or her wife, who's another, Rebecca, is a big radical leftist, big anti-ICE social justice warrior. What if this was a MAGA couple? What if Rebecca Good, the wife of Renee Good, was MAGA? And she had raised, or whatever, through GoFundMe, they raised $1.5 million for her and for the 6-year-old child. You don't think that money would have been seized? And the reason why I'm saying this, and this was Sandy's point as well, and she's right, notice all the money that was raised for the J6ers. All that money was seized. They didn't get a penny of that. So here's a woman, I'm talking about Rebecca Good, now the wife, who clearly is partially responsible for what happened, for the fatal shooting of Renee Good, who clearly obstructed ICE, who clearly interfered in a law enforcement operation, who clearly incited Renee drive, baby, drive, and to resist arrest. And she, by the way, was resisting arrest herself. Like, first of all, why is she not in handcuffs? I'm talking about Rebecca Good, the wife, the lesbian wife. Why is she not in handcuffs? Like, hello, am I missing something? Okay, that's number one. But number two, why should she get to become a millionaire? Now all of a sudden they raised over $1.5 million and she's going to keep it? So she's going to be rewarded for essentially helping to create a fatal shooting situation that resulted in the death of Renee Good and now has helped to lay waste to parts of Minnesota. Minnesota now and Minneapolis are in absolute turmoil, chaos, anarchy, as you and I speak. All because of the actions of these two, especially that idiot, Rebecca Good. Ay, ay, ay. So let me ask you, should she be allowed to keep the money? Or, like the J6ers, those were seized, those funds were seized, should her funds be seized? And help pay for all the damage that's been done to the city of Minneapolis. Secondly, what do you make now of this bombshell new video footage? Do you believe now this 1,000% exonerates Jonathan Ross? And does it clearly show now beyond the shadow of a doubt that this wasn't even just a legitimate, justified self-defense shooting, but it was almost the only moral choice he had? I mean, unless the guy wants to leave his wife a widow and his 2 children or 3 children fatherless. The vehicle was coming straight at him. You can clearly see it now. There's no question. Because the wife said, drive, baby, drive. And Renee Good, hits the gas pedal. You know, had she just obeyed the lawful commands of the police, Renee, or I'll even go even further than this and tell me if you agree or disagree. Had Rebecca, the wife, just obeyed the lawful commands of the police, because you could see she's the more dominant one in the relationship. Okay, she's, quote, calling the shots. If she said to Renee, Renee, get out of the car. Renee, just please listen to the police. Renee would have gotten out of the car. Nothing would have happened. Nothing would have happened. I mean, they may have been arrested, but they both, Renee would be alive. And Minneapolis wouldn't be engulfed in riots right now. But instead, because idiot number one, Rebecca Good, said, drive, baby, drive, that led to Renee Good hitting the accelerator, leading to her death, and now we've got an absolute mess. Now, so does Rebecca Good bear responsibility for what happened? And does this video footage now completely justify and exonerate the ICE agent involved in this fatal shooting? I say yes. There's no debate. There's no question. This thing should be over by now. And let me just one last point, and then I want to go to you, the great audience. 617-266-6868 is the number. What people in Minnesota are now saying, journalists, even the protesters, people who live there, they're all of them, whether you're for or against ICE, whatever your position is on the shooting, all of them, to a man, woman, and child, admit that it would be 10 times, if not 100 times worse. The looting, the rioting, the rampaging, the attacks on hotels, the attacks on cars, the attacks on ICE, the attacks on police. It would be George Floyd 2.0. If not for one thing, the cold, freezing weather. That's the only thing keeping Minnesota from being burned to the, Minneapolis from being burned to the ground. It's the frigid Arctic-like temperatures. That's it. I'm telling you, that's it. Or else it would be the summer of love all over again. Remember, the George Floyd riots broke out in May and into June. It was hot. Minnesota has weather that's making us here in Massachusetts look like the Bahamas. It's cold. I mean, really cold. So it's hard to be out on the streets for hours and hours. I don't care what kind of it's hard to lay on that ground, that street pavement. I don't care how much you're dressed up when it's that frigid and that cold. So the only thing that may keep Minneapolis, afloat, keep it intact, is the winter. So this is the only thing that Minneapolis now has going for it. Tim Walz is a coward and a buffoon and an insurrectionist. Jacob Frey, the Minneapolis mayor, is a coward, a buffoon, and an insurrectionist. And those rioters that are tearing up hotels and beating, kicking, punching, spitting, and attacking not just ICE, but local police, state police. There needs to be mass arrests now. The governor and the mayor have surrendered Minneapolis to the mob. 617-266-6868. Agree? Disagree? Okay. Mike, who do you want me to go to first? Mark in Medford. You're going to kick us off, Mark. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you on this Monday?
The Pats won yesterday, so that's about the only good thing I could say, Mark.
At 4:30 every morning. So, Jeff, let's say this, okay? Let's say Renee Good was this model, law-abiding citizen, never did anything wrong, didn't try to run an ICE agent over with her vehicle, right? And say she was just going for a drive in that same area, the exact same area, and ICE was there to get that Somali rapist, but that Somali rapist came out and tried to, let's say, carjack her vehicle. And she refused to get out of the car, and the carjacker, the Somali rapist, shot her dead. Would we still be seeing the same outrage here? Or if it was a MAGA couple or whatnot, or would we see something like they would still try to make the Somali illegal, the victim?
Well, look, let's even make it Mark, even more clear cut. Okay, let's make it even more cut and dried. Say the person that shot Renee Good was not an ICE agent, but an illegal alien, Somali or otherwise. It doesn't matter.
Right.
An illegal alien walked up to Renee Good the way they describe it. She dropped her child off at school. She's turning up on that street. He walks up to her. 3 shots. Bang, bang, bang. 1 in the face. She's shot dead. Now, you tell me if you agree or disagree, Mark. If she was killed by an illegal alien, the Democrats, the media, liberals wouldn't give her murder, her death, a moment's attention, a moment's notice. We wouldn't even know her name. We wouldn't even know her name. So it's obvious they don't care about Renee Good. What they care about and what they're all about, and this is to me what is so disgusting, is vilifying ICE, smearing ICE, unfairly defaming, and making ICE look in the most negative light possible. What they're doing is they are using the body and death of Renee Good to wage their war against ICE and to wage their war against Trump and his deportation policy. They have politicized this incident in order to undermine Trump and undermine his agenda. Mark, I can't read the evidence any other way. Am I wrong, Mark?
Jeff, you're not 100. You're not even 1,000. You are 1,000,000% correct. And as far as the GoFundMe page, Another thing you're correct about, Jeff, is GoFundMe. If that was a MAGA couple, they wouldn't even allow that to even go up on that page, let alone freeze the assets.
Oh, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Mark, look, let me ask you this. Do you think Rebecca Good, the lesbian wife of Renee Good, after seeing now this new video footage from the agent who was involved in that fatal shooting, Jonathan Ross, should she be arrested? Is she complicit? Does she bear some responsibility for what happened in your view? I don't mean moral responsibility. I mean legal culpability, legal responsibility. What say you?
Well, Jeff, let's put it this way. If you and I were out together, you decided to rob a bank and I was with you, guess who's getting arrested with you?
That's a great point. Especially if you're egging me on. It's caught on tape, right? Go, Jeff, go. Drive, baby, drive. Mark, as always, the voice of common sense. Mark, thank you so much for that call. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. Mike, who do you want me to go to next? Becky in the great state of Oregon. Thanks for holding, Becky, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Becky.
God bless you, and thank you, and Sandy and Mike. So thankful that you guys are there. You just don't know. I don't call that very often.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if you heard me, but thank you, and God bless you and Sandy and Mike for being there. I don't call very often, but I listen every day. But the reason, I was going to say, when you were saying about what those women were saying to the ICE guy, I was going to say, what is wrong with these people? But, Jeff, I don't say this as an expression. It sounds weird, but I 100% mean it. These people are possessed, because the reason I decided to pick up the phone, I watched the protest on Rumble Saturday for like a couple hours, and I was so horrified but when you said, oh my God, I hate this. When you said that those women, Renee and whoever, her people, was calling the ICE, did you say they were calling him Big Boy?
Yeah, Rebecca. Yeah, she. That's the wife. She said, "Why don't you go get some lunch, big boy?"
The coverage that I was watching, the reporter he was in the crowd, and he was trying to interview some of these white women. And first they sounded fairly normal, just talking about that these people have a right to be here or something like that, whatever. Then, okay, and that went on for a while, and there was, 4 or 5 of these women around saying stupid things. But then this one woman, because I think the reporter kind of decided to walk away, and because he couldn't have a conversation with him. This one woman starts, and she was one of the ones that was sounding fairly normal at the beginning. He starts to walk away. She starts putting on this show, dancing, whatever you want to call it, rocking back and forth. What's the matter, big boy? And I mean, I was absolutely horrified. I could not believe how she was acting. Just, big boy, and I don't know. It doesn't matter. But it's, Jeff, these people are possessed. And all of them, even the Democrats, even the ones that sound normal. I know we don't like to talk about.
Be honest with you. You look at them, you listen to them talk, you look at the way they behave. They do look like they're possessed. I'm sorry. They're like rabid dogs, rabid animals. They're utterly unhinged. And just to stand back, you see the reactions. First of all, like you see, it's everywhere now, clips. People are in like a bus an ordinary public bus, a city bus. And they're looking at the video of the shooting. And then out of the blue, they're like, get out of my city! Get the F out of my city! Like they're going berserk. Because they're getting, they're just getting inflamed by Jacob Frey, by Tim Waltz, by the media. And they just keep repeating it. ICE is murdering people. ICE is murdering people. You could be next. They're killing on behalf of Donald Trump. They're convinced that ICE is now walking up. Oh, here's a woman in the car. Bang, let me shoot her in the head. Next. Oh, here's another one. Bang, shoot him in the head. Like they've convinced them that they're the modern day SS. That ICE is like it's Nazi Germany. Are you normal? Like they need to be institutionalized. And then just to go back to the actual incident, okay, forget the rioters, forget those that are now destroying the city and sacking hotels and destroying lobbies and fighting the police and the sheer hatred. And they even say it. I hate you. I hate you. By the way, this is the local police with the local police chief led by the local mayor who's telling the cops to stand up to ICE. But see, now you see the radicalism. They want to abolish all police. All police. That's why I'm telling the police, the cops, don't side with these people because they hate you. They hate ICE a little bit more now. But this is the same Black Lives Matter crowd. They're going to come after you. Don't think you're going to be spared. And you can see that. They don't want police of any kind. They don't want prisons. They want to abolish police. They want to abolish ICE. But then you just look at Renee. And you look at Rebecca. And you look at them. And I'm sorry, but are they, Renee was 37. I believe Rebecca's 40. Don't quote me on that, 40-ish. Are you 10 years old? You're laughing at the police. You're mocking the police. You're trashing the police. You're taunting the police. You're deliberately obstructing and impeding a law enforcement operation where they're trying to arrest a rapist. An illegal alien Somali rapist. And you're pumping the horn and you're dancing in your car? And, and you're like, want to come at us? You want to come at us? You want to come at us? Hey, why don't you go have some lunch, big boy? And then when they tell you to get out of the car, you're under arrest. Drive, baby, drive. In other words, resist arrest? Resist a lawful command from the police? Like, what do you think? This is a joke? Like, what is this? Some kind of a fantasy? You're in a video game? They're stupid. I'm sorry. They're stupid. They're really stupid. And reckless and irresponsible and childish. And I'm sorry, if you look at these poor ICE agents, the abuse they have to put up with, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse. Honestly, I don't know how they do it. So I look at this and I'm like, these people have lost their minds. Okay, let me ask you. It is the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Do you think Rebecca Good, the wife of Renee Good, should she be arrested? Should she be held legally accountable for her role in obstructing justice and impeding ICE's law enforcement operation that resulted in the death of Renee Good? Should she be arrested? A, yes. B, no. You know where I stand. Arrest her now. But that's me. I want to hear from you. You can vote on my webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, Kuhn as in National ER. You can also vote via X, and boy, was I active on X last night. My handle there, all one word, at the Kuhner Report, at the Kuhner Report, Kuhn as in National ER. Jeff in Quincy. Thanks for holding, Jeff, and welcome. Did we lose Jeff? Okay. Let's go to Michelle in Medford. Thanks for holding, Michelle, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I can, but I'm at work now, and I work with a bunch of, well, we'll call them liberals. Anyway, so this is what I wanted to notice. If anyone else noticed, maybe someone said it, I don't know. Like, I heard French Fry, Small Fry, the mayor, say, oh, she was just trying to leave. I don't think that's true because, first of all, if you notice, her wife, whatever, tried to get in, but the door must have locked because she had it in gear. So she couldn't get in. She wouldn't be leaving her wife there. So she wasn't trying to leave. She was trying to hit him.
Well, Michelle, look, I think you're right. Actually, I know you're right. But but let that go, as I like to say, just for the sake of argument, okay? What this new video footage proves, it doesn't matter, door 1 or door 2. If her intent was to run him over, then the shooting is clearly self-defense and justified. But even if her intent was just to get away, that's it. Okay, fine. She doesn't want to kill him. She just wants to get away. He was in her way. She ran him over. Or she hit him. She was going to run him over. She defied a direct command to get out of the car. And her wife told her, drive, baby, drive, meaning just get out of here. Either drive, baby, drive, run him over, or drive, baby, drive, get out of here. Either way, it doesn't matter. Her intent at this point is irrelevant because what the cell phone footage shows is the police, the ICE agent, was right in front of the vehicle. So she was going to run him over. In fact, he's very lucky to be alive. Look, it's only because this guy's a 10-year veteran in ICE, 10-year veteran in the military. He's a military man. He is in phenomenal shape. He is a top law enforcement officer. He's got super fast reflexes and cool and calm under pressure like you wouldn't believe. If this was you, if this was me, if this was most people, we would have been run over. There's no question we would have been run over. So her actions, Renee's, were irresponsible and reckless. There's no question. There's no question. So whether you intended to run him over or you just wanted to escape, the fact is he was in front of you. By hitting the accelerator, you would have run him over. End of story. Look, to me, this is where the left, and they know this, okay? This is why they keep lying. They keep trying to claim, she was just there to drop her child off. She was just there on a drive. She was just doing a U-turn in the neighborhood. That's what they were claiming. CNN's been running with this all weekend. She just wanted to do a U-turn in the neighborhood. She got shot for doing a U-turn. Well, the first video footage shows her 3.5 minutes blocking traffic and then with the horn, playing with the horn in her car, going back and forth, like dancing, car dancing. So there she is, one side of the seat, the other side of the seat, la, 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 for 3.5 minutes. Okay, so that blows up that narrative. Completely blows it up. Then the ICE agent who shot her, his cell phone footage shows conclusively she was taunting him, Renee. She was smug. She was arrogant. She wanted to block traffic. She wanted to impede ICE. Her purpose was to impede ICE. And then that lesbian wife, the woman's not right in the head. You know the expression, F around, find out? Sorry, F around, yeah. F-A-F-O, F around, find out. They were effing around. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, for some reason, many of you are asking the Kuhner man. You're texting in, emailing me, messaging me. Jeff, can you please re-ask the poll question of the day? Okay, I'm happy to do so. So, the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. After the release of new video showing the shooting of Renee Good by ICE in Minneapolis, should her partner, Rebecca, be arrested for interfering with law enforcement? A, yes. B, no. I am a hell yes, but that's me. I want to hear from you. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner. You can also vote via X, my handle there, all one word, at the Kuhner Report, at the Kuhner Report, K-U-H-N as in national E-R. Lines are blazing. Jeff in Quincy. Thanks for holding, Jeff, and welcome.
Mr. Kuhner, how you doing today, my friend?
Very good. How are you, Jeff?
I am doing wonderful. I got a couple things, actually. One that's kind of crazy. So, she's obstructing justice. If this was a January 6th defendant, she'd get a 4-year sentence. It's pretty simple. Now, more importantly, my biggest point I called in for is, where is the Department of Justice? This is obstruction of justice. And in this country, is obstruction of justice not a felony?
Yes.
Okay, now what happens if you're convicted of a felony, Jeff?
You go to jail.
You lose your right to vote.
That's also true, yes.
Why? Where is the Department of Justice? We need the Insurrection Act passed yesterday. Where is the Department of Justice arresting these people? We can kill two birds with one stone by arresting them, prosecuting them, convicting them, and then they all lose their right to vote. Winner, chicken dinner.
I hear you. Look, I'd love to make you, I'm serious, I'd make you Attorney General. I'm not kidding. I'd make 90% of this audience Attorney General. I don't know what to tell you. Where's Pam Bondi? I've been saying this now for months and months and months. Where this woman is, I don't know. I don't know. And you've got ICE's headquarters now in Minneapolis, in the Minnesota area, in Minneapolis. It's under siege. It's being attacked. It's being surrounded. They're now targeting ICE agents in hotels. You can look at the video. I mean, you're looking at this and you can't believe it's an American city. It looks like someplace from the third world. They're smashing windows. They're smashing the doors at these hotels. There's hundreds of them in the lobby. You have the hotel workers are fleeing. They're all running because they don't want to get torn limb to limb. And by the way, these are nice hotels. And they're just destroying the furniture, the chairs, the couches, the carpets. They're just destroying everything. And they're foaming at the mouth. I mean, I'm talking like, I hate you, F-ice, F-ice, F-ice. Like, bloodshot eyes, foaming at the mouth. Like, I'm talking pure rage. They look berserk. And I'm sorry, Jeff, I blame Waltz. I blame Jacob Frey. There's no question. I blame the Democrats because they're just pouring gasoline on the fire with lie after lie after lie after lie. Okay, it's pure incitement now. They're being incendiary, they're being inflammatory. But ultimately, I blame the media. I blame the media. And we've got to restore the Smith-Munt Act. We've got to. We've got to. Because, again, you're seeing the effect of propaganda, the effect of manipulation, the effect that the media has on people. They keep, and I'm telling you, CNN and MS Now should lose their licenses. This is not a question of freedom of speech, difference of opinion. They're nakedly lying. They're going on the air and saying that she was shot because she dropped her child off at school. That she was shot because she took a U-turn. That's why J.D. Vance, what was it, on Thursday or Friday, I forget when, he nuked the media. Bomb after bomb, saying what you're doing is so irresponsible. She wasn't shot because she decided to take a drive. She was shot because she was part of a larger radical left-wing network, an Ice Watch network, which is all true, and they were taking training classes on how to impede, obstruct, and sabotage ICE. And she was there along with her wife, and they were stalking ICE for hours. They were harassing ICE for hours. And then she took her vehicle and she put it in front of multiple ICE vehicles as they were in the process of a legitimate law enforcement operation. And they asked her to move again and again and again, and she refused to move. And then finally they had no choice. They said, get out of the car. And she refused not only to get out of the car, she then hit the gas pedal. There was another ICE agent. By the grace of God, she didn't run him over. They're not telling the truth. They're not even giving you the basic facts. And by the way, if you look at the new video footage, and I promise I'm going to come back to you, Jeff, from the ICE agent's perspective, what you clearly see is that the wheels were aimed at him. The car was aimed at him. She was going to ram him. She did hit him, by the way. The other thing it shows is, you see, they lied. They said, oh, she didn't touch him. No. After this, he gets, like you can tell, like the car, hits him hard. So if he hadn't jumped out of the way and boom, boom, firing shots in the process, she would have run. His body would be crushed underneath her front left tire. There's no question. So she turned her vehicle right at him. She tried to run him over. Whether she was just escaping or she wanted to, who cares? It's the motive is almost irrelevant. With the wife yelling, drive, baby, drive. After she heard the police, not once, not twice, 3 times. Once with an F-bomb thrown in for emphasis. Get out of the car. Like, you're under arrest. Get out of the car. You've been blocking us now for how many minutes? Now, I'm looking at this and I'm just like, my jaw's on the floor. When you're obstructing a police operation, you're the one that's impeding them. And then they tell you to get out of the car. Get out of the car. Like, this is not rocket science. Look, I'm telling you, if this was my son, or my daughter, okay? Even at 37, even at 40 years of age, I swear to you, God is my witness. And, I feel bad because Renee Good is dead. Let's say she survived, just for the sake of argument. And I see that video, bang, right in the back of the head. Like, I'm 40 years old, Dad. What are you doing hitting me in the back of the head? What is wrong with you? I don't know, Ashton or Ava. What is wrong with you? You could have gotten killed. In this case, she was killed. What is wrong with you? You're getting involved in something that is none of your business. You're blocking a legitimate law enforcement operation, and now you're taunting the police? Like, what is it? Do you want to get shot and killed? Look, I'm reluctant to say it because it makes me seem cold-hearted. And I'm telling you, I feel bad for her parents because I have children, and I never want to outlive my children. I never want to outlive them. I want my children to outlive me. And she's got 2 other children from a previous marriage, and she's got a 6-year-old son. So they lost a mother. Okay, whatever you think of her as a person, they lost a mother. So honest to God, I feel very bad for her, her parents, her children, her family. I do. I really do. But I'm sorry, she practically brought it upon herself. The woman's an idiot. And there's an immature quality. You can see her face. Oh, I'm so sorry we're ruining your day. Oh, I'm so sorry we're ruining your day. And then her lesbian wife. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? Why don't you go get yourself some lunch, big boy? Are you 40 or are you 14 years old? Like, are you some teenage punk? You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And they played with the police. And when you play with law enforcement, I'm telling you, sometimes you get burned. Final word to you, Jeff. What say you?
Yeah, I'm with you. Pam Bondi's a squish, and if the Department of Justice doesn't act, they're going to throw this country into a civil war. It's not going to be a cold civil war. Quite frankly, I've had enough. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I don't know what to do with these people, whether we sit home and...
Well, let's stay patient, obviously. I mean, please. But look, Jeff, I'm not stroking your ego. I'm telling you, you would be a better AG. I'm serious. Okay, best audience in the business. Jeff, you sound like a broken record, dude. I don't know what else to tell you. It's true. Listen to this. You're not going to hear this kind of analysis anywhere else. I'm telling you, I haven't seen it anywhere. Fox, Newsmax, forget CNN and MS Now, and that's just propaganda garbage. But it doesn't matter. Anywhere else, I have not seen this kind of analysis. Common sense combined with real street smarts and insight. Listen to this. From 603. Jeff, contrary to the lie that the leftist mainstream media has been spewing, that the officer wasn't even touched by Renee Good's car, the officer's cell phone footage, as well as video footage from a frontal angle, clearly prove that the officer was struck and then had to jump out of the way. Okay? We've been talking about this all morning. True. 603 continues, and this is the part that's brilliant. But there is another very telling bit of footage from the driver's side rear. Reports show that the roads were icy that day. After Renee backs the car up. Now, this is very true. Look at the video footage. You'll see. After Renee backs the car up, she then puts it in drive with the officer right in front of her and then guns it. On the video, you can clearly see her front drive wheels spin on the slippery pavement for a moment. You know the tires spin on black ice? Spin on the slippery pavement for a moment. The officer would have easily heard those tires spinning. The slippery pavement kept her vehicle from lurching forward towards him even faster. Had her tires not spun, she likely would have run right over the officer. Bingo. Look at the footage again. It's like a split second. The whole thing is so quick, but look at the footage. She backs up. She then puts it in drive. When she puts it in drive, just stare at, because you're looking at the officer, you're looking at the person pulling on her door, right? You're looking, but look at her front tires. Just focus on that. You see for a split second, the tires are spinning on the ice. They're not grabbed because there's a bit of black ice. And so that slows the momentum of the vehicle I think just enough to give the officer enough time to jump out of the way. Had this been thread of the tire on pavement with no ice, she would have run right over him. That little that little spinning of the tire is what gave him just enough time. She still hits him, but gives him just enough time to jump out of the way. And that's when he fired his 3 shots. Now, 603 adds, and this is very important. Most of you who are longtime listeners of the show, you're going to remember this story. It's going to refresh your memory. For those of you that have just joined us in the last couple of years or whatever, I'm going to remind you about a story that I talked about. It was a huge thing in Minneapolis. Huge story 8 years ago. So 603 reminds us, listen to this. Moreover, back in 2017, a Somalian immigrant Minneapolis police officer, Mohammed Noor. Now, just let me add this. Minneapolis was desperate for diversity in the police force. And so they rushed through the training of this guy, Mohammed Noor. They wanted a Somali immigrant on the police force, come hell or high water. And so he wasn't properly trained. And 603 continues, Mohammed Noor, this Somali Minneapolis police officer, an immigrant, fatally shot Justine Damond, a 40-year-old white woman who had simply called 911 to report a possible rape taking place behind her home. When that happened, did we see the Democrats in the mainstream media fomenting protests and riots over Justine's fatal shooting? Where was Antifa? Where were all these liberal moonbat activists then? Bingo, checkmate. When Mohammed Noor, a Somali immigrant police officer who was not properly trained, should never have been certified as a cop, he showed up at Justine Damond's home. I will never forget that story. It was past midnight. She thought that she heard a rape behind her house, that someone was being raped. So she calls 911. She then is waiting for the police officer on her driveway. So she's out of her house. The police officer sees her and he panics because he can't see her that well in the dark. And he thinks, is she the rapist? Like, is she a man? He couldn't tell if she's a man or a woman because it was dark. And as she goes towards him to talk to him by his window, he pulls out his gun and she's unarmed, completely unarmed. Boom, 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 boom. And he shot her dead. Dead. 40-year-old woman, dead. Remember, Renee Good, 37, so they were similar in age. So, when a Somali immigrant police officer, let's be crude about this, when a black man, a black cop, guns down a white woman, where was Tampon Tim? Where was "This is CNN"? Where was Antifa? Where was Black Lives Matter? Where was the media? How come they weren't rioting? How come they weren't protesting? How about they weren't defund the police? Abolish the police? Notice, most people don't even know Justine Damond's name. But if it's an ICE agent in legitimate self-defense, fatally shooting an anti-ICE domestic terrorist who was trying to ram or run over that ICE agent. Minneapolis is being destroyed in front of our eyes. They've basically paralyzed and shut the city down. You phonies, you frauds, you. 617-266-6868. The only thing I can say is this. Thank the Lord Renee Good was a white woman. Can you imagine if she was a black woman? Okay, or a black man, I don't care. Can you imagine what the left and the media would have done with that, with the race card? If they could play the race card? I don't care if it's 40 degrees below Celsius. If the victim was black, they would have burned, Minneapolis would have been burnt to a crisp by now. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Jared in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Jared, and welcome.
Three reports stole my thunder. I was about to talk about that video from Channel 5 ABC that shows the car literally hitting him. But yeah, it's absolutely. I mean, if they could have played that race card, yeah, it would be all over. It would be all over by now.
Jared, I'm just curious. So just for the audience, just the video, what struck you most about the video that you saw?
Oh, with the Channel 5 ABC, that, you saw the car lurching forward, aiming towards him. When I saw that, it literally looked like it was aiming towards him.
Jared, I don't want to, how do I say this? I don't want to overstate the case, so you tell me if I am. But, look, I drive an SUV, okay? I love my Jeep. It's a Grand Jeep Cherokee. I love it. Bought it secondhand, used, loved it. One of the best investments. Love it, love it. One of the best investments I've ever made. But, once in a while I refer to it as my tank or my missile.
Yeah.
Because those things are huge. I mean, they're several tons. It's a 2-ton vehicle. And Ashton now is going to be 16 soon. I'm going to eventually teach him how to drive. And I'm telling you, Jared, the first thing I'm going to teach him is what my dad taught me. Is I'm going to put him behind the steering wheel. And I'm going to ask him, son, what is this? And he's going to look at me like I did my dad, like I have 6 heads. Like, well, what do you mean? It's a car. It's a Jeep. What's the matter with you? I'm like, no, it's not a car. It's not a Jeep. He's going to be, Dad, what are you on, drugs? I'm like, no, answer my question. And eventually I'm going to tell him, this is a weapon. Yes, it's a car. Yes, it's a Jeep. Yes, it's a vehicle, of course. It's a weapon. And it's a very deadly weapon. Because you drive this 2-ton vehicle, sometimes at 50, 60, maybe even 70 miles an hour. And if you hit someone at that speed, or any speed, you can kill somebody like this. Like this. That's why you've got to be alert on the road at all times. Okay? Now, when you have Renee Good, driving a vehicle directly at a police officer, is this not, in effect, a 2-ton weapon, a 2-ton missile, as you put it, aimed right at the cop? Because had he not jumped out of the way, it hit him. But had he not jumped out of the way as it hit him, he would have been crushed underneath that weight, and he would have been dead. Jared, am I wrong?
Not wrong at all. Yeah, the vehicles are higher up off the ground, so it's more likely to go up and over him.
Jared, my friend, let me ask you this. Is it time for Trump to go nuclear, as they say, proverbially? Press the proverbial nuclear weapon on the nuclear button on this, forgive me, and invoke the Insurrection Act, send in the National Guard, and just take over Minneapolis before these activists destroy the whole damn thing?
Yeah, I've been wanting to do that for a very, very long time. I don't know why he hasn't.
Jared, thank you very much for that call, my friend. Honestly, I know you're busy, Mr. President. Really, believe me, I know. No one's got more on his plate than you do. But call Pam Bondi and tell her to do her job. And if she won't do her job, get somebody who will. And you've got to invoke that Insurrection Act, like yesterday. Linda in Salem. Thanks for holding, Linda, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff.
Linda.
Long-time listener.
Welcome, Linda. Welcome. Linda, can you please pick up the phone because you're on speaker and we can barely hear you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, all loud and clear. Linda, go ahead.
Well, I got another spin on this. And I don't know, maybe I'm looking in the wrong direction. But if he uses the Insurrection Act, it could be turned against all of us. I'm just going back to like the Patriot Act. We all wanted the Patriot Act. And then look at what they did with that.
Well, that's a very, Linda, I have to say, it's a very interesting argument. Because you're right. I mean, the left weaponizes everything. And, we're thinking, well, it's an insurrection. That's what it is. Invoke the Insurrection Act and send in the troops. But if we do that, then the left will turn around if they ever come back to power and say, okay, I know we used it for legitimate reasons, but they don't care. They're going to say, well, you used the Insurrection Act? Now we're going to use the Insurrection Act. So, that's something I think we have to consider, Linda.
Yes, because they get both, or they get our side to cry for it, and then once it goes in, and then it'll be used against us. I just think more government is not the answer.
That's a very good point. Linda, honestly, that's a really good point. Linda, forget invoking the Insurrection Act for a second, because I think you've given me and the audience a lot to chew on there. What about just federalizing the National Guard and just ordering the National Guard saying, no, I'm going to put them at these hotels. We're going to take back those boulevards. Because basically now there is no local police. It's a protest-free zone. It's a giant downtown Minneapolis. This is how it's being described by everybody. They go, think of a zone utterly dominated by protests and protesters. To the point, I don't want to laugh, but there's like a rock band. Sorry, it's freezing cold, but there's like a rock band in the middle of the key boulevard in downtown Minneapolis. I'm talking in the middle of the boulevard. And there's one guy banging on the drums. He's just playing the drums. And a couple guys with the guitar egging the crowd on, providing entertainment until they get too cold. Then they rush in and warm up. But they're like, it's just, they're just putting bodies on the streets. Now they've put up barricades. So they're putting up blockades, they're putting up barricades, traffic can't come in, traffic can't come out, and the hotels are being, just shattered. They're being plundered and destroyed. A graffiti everywhere. They're going to turn on the cars, the parked cars soon. Again, it's only because it's so cold, but they're going to start really smashing and destroying cars. That's inevitable now. So because the police have run away under the orders of the mayor and Waltz, do you think it's time to send in, Trump should federalize the Guard and send it in? What say you?
Yes, I would agree with that.
Just don't do it under the guise of the Insurrection Act.
Just think that's too much federal government.
Interesting. I know. Look, you're cracking the stone. Government. Yeah, that you're setting an example, a precedent that the left may use against us. Linda, very good call. Please don't be a stranger. Call again, Linda. In other words, look, let's not quibble then over the Insurrection Act because I think Linda's got a very good argument. All right, send in the National Guard. I'm not picky. I don't know, send in a couple thousand National Guard members and take back downtown Minneapolis. 617. And by the way, put some National Guard members around ICE headquarters. That's where Ilhan Omar was protesting there. Senator Tina Smith was protesting there. You're starting to see all the local politicians with their bullhorns protest there. You're seeing mobs and mobs and mobs just surround and encircle that building. You got to beef it up with more security because, I mean, violence could break out there at any moment. 617-266-6868. Russ in Boston. Thanks for holding, Russ, and welcome.
Jeff, in many liberal cities and towns, the police are ordered to stand down, law and order be damned. They could give a damn about how many people get killed, how many people get injured, law and order be damned. Now, the Democratic Party proves itself every day, divide and conquer, divide and conquer, divide and conquer by creating chaos. To all the employees who work for the anti-American left-wing media, you are sellouts who have no moral compass whatsoever. And if you had a moral compass, you would never work for the snake media and the left-stream media, without a shadow of a doubt. Now, vote to put the Democratic Party in power. You without a shadow of a doubt, you are a useful idiot. Now, as far as Tampon Tim is concerned, he idolizes communist China. He's a fraud, and his wife and daughter are fruitcakes. Without a doubt, every time they open their mouth, you can see that both of them are fruitcakes. What a wonderful family. All three idiots. Now, President Trump is the greatest leader I have been waiting for in all of my adult life. A true patriotic American, a real leader of the free world. He is God sent. And long live this great republic under the leadership of Donald Trump.
Russ, let me ask you this. I take it you've seen the latest video footage, correct?
I have, yes.
What do you think that Renee, intended to run over the ICE agent? Or do you think she panicked? She was full of wokeism, arrogance, hubris, hatred for ICE. And when her wife said, "Drive, baby, drive," she just hit the accelerator thinking, well, we're just going to get away. I'm just going to escape. And he happened to be there, and she was going to run him over, but that her intent really wasn't to kill him or run him over. After looking at the video, what's your sense? Did she want to run him over, or was she just trying to escape?
First of all, Jeff, I believe that she was trying to run him up. But just think about this, okay? If that officer had not shot at her and killed her, okay, he probably saved the life of other ICE officers because she would have driven in anyone. Remember, these people, okay, there's a fit of rage with them. All logic goes out the window, okay? You don't know what wacky thing they're going to do. First of all, for any stupid woman to have a child and be in harm's way, put herself in harm's way like that, is an idiot, is a brainwashed fool. And if you're a brainwashed fool, how can you make any analysis of what the hell a brainwashed fool is going to do? So absolutely, he did the right thing in the media, the scum. And Jeff, remember, I hate the media. I hate them for what they did for us Vietnam veterans, okay? They lied while good men died. And today, it's the same thing. While good men...
No, well, yeah. No, you're right. While good men are putting their bodies on the line like that ICE agent. Okay, this is from 781. And I'd love to get your take on this. 781 writes to the Kuhner man, Jeff, in my heart of hearts, I don't believe Renee Good was trying to deliberately hit the ICE agent. What I believe is that she was so drunk on wokeism and not being held accountable for any of her previous intimidations of ICE that she thought she could evade arrest by speeding off and frightening the ICE officer out of her way. And in so doing, committing several felonies, and losing her life. That's interesting. That's interesting. Well, look, it's hard to know her intent. It's hard to know her motives. We'll never find out. She's dead, and you can't read people's mind. What is clear by this new cell phone footage that's now been released over the weekend from the ICE agent himself, his phone, what you clearly see is that she was obstructing ICE for a long time, Renee Good in the car and her partner, that they were very comfortable doing it, that they had been doing it for a long time, for months and months, that they wanted to obstruct and impede ICE. They were trash-talking ICE agents. They were taunting ICE agents. They clearly had no fear of ICE agents. And when they said, get out of the car, when ICE agents commanded them, you're under arrest, get out of the car, it was Rebecca Good, Renee's wife, who's outside of the vehicle, who told Renee, drive, baby, drive. And that's when she hit the accelerator. And the ICE agent was literally in front of her when she hit the accelerator. Now, whether she just wanted to get away and thought, he would move out of the way, or whether she deliberately wanted to run him over and kill him, like, as I said, her intent really doesn't matter. It's irrelevant at this point because the footage shows beyond a shadow of a doubt that she interfered in the ICE operation. She was commanded to exit the car. She refused. She aimed the car at the officer. She clearly hit the gas pedal, and she hit him. And had he not shot, she would have run him over. There's no discussion. I mean, in terms of these are the basic facts. So every step of the way, she and her wife, the idiot woke wife, the two of them, you didn't have to be there. You didn't have to impede the operation. You could have gotten out of your vehicle. I mean, every step of the way, they would be alive today. But no, they had to obstruct ICE, impede ICE, and now, by doing this, they put themselves in the middle of a very dangerous situation, and she deliberately refused to obey the commands of the officers, and then she aimed her car at the ICE agent, and she hit the gas pedal. And as a previous texter put it, and you look at the way the front tire spins on the ice, had there been no ice, that officer is dead. That slight delay in the movement of the car, the momentum of the car, is what gave the ICE agent enough time to just jump out of the way to save his life. Even though she still clipped him, she still hit him. I'm sorry. I mean, I feel bad for her and her family. But she basically brought this upon herself. Renee Good and Rebecca Good brought this upon themselves. Agree, disagree, and everything that flows from that is illegitimate. And to me, what is most disgusting of all is we have, as I said on Newsmax yesterday, okay, I was on yesterday morning, Tim Walz and Jacob Frey and the Democrats, let's be very clear, are leading a full-blown insurrection now in Minnesota. They are deliberately defying federal authority, federal immigration law, federal law enforcement, President Donald Trump. They are deliberately now doing everything in their power to kick ICE out of Minneapolis, kick ICE out of Minnesota, and prevent them from deporting and capturing the most dangerous criminal illegal aliens. They are now, these are political vigilantes that you are seeing now on the streets of Minneapolis with the full backing of Waltz and Frey. So are we going to tolerate an open insurrection? Are we going to tolerate a governor and a mayor openly inciting and fomenting riots and violence? We don't have a country if they're allowed to get away with this. And I think that's why the president has to say, I'm not just sending in the National Guard. Okay, many of you are emailing the Kuhner man, texting, messaging me saying, Jeff, could you just tell us where exactly was Jonathan Ross, the ICE agent, hit, and did he get treatment for his injuries? He was hit in the hip. You can clearly see it on the video, the new video footage. He's hit in the hip, and right after he fires his 3 shots, you can see him limping badly because obviously he got clipped. He then went to the hospital, and his hip had to be treated. So he was hit, you see him hit, and then afterwards he had to be taken to the hospital to be treated after she rammed him or clipped him with her vehicle. Remember, this is the same officer, the same agent, who in June, this was in Bloomington, Minnesota, was hit by an illegal alien. This was a sex predator from Guatemala, an illegal, who then dragged his body for about 100 yards until they were finally able to corral the illegal. And he had to, again, Jonathan Ross had to be sent to the hospital, this time with even much more serious wounds. His entire arm, on one arm was completely gashed, really just ripped up. The other arm was also badly cut up, and one of his legs suffered serious damage. So this was not his first rodeo, believe me. And by the way, vehicle attacks, vehicle rammings of ICE agents have exploded over the last year. It is part of the ICE Watch playbook. They are now teaching activists and even encouraging illegals. If you see an ICE agent and he's in your way, ram him, run him over. 617-266-6868. And that's why Kristi Noem, it's one of the reasons why Kristi Noem says this is domestic terrorism. And make no mistake about it, Renee Good and her wife Rebecca Good were not just rabid, radical, anti-ICE activists and insurrectionists. They were both domestic terrorists. 617-266-6868 is the number. Bruce in Woburn. Thanks for holding, Bruce, and welcome. I got to tell you, that's Rebecca Good to a T. You want to talk about a hardcore moonbat, Bruce? Whoa, whoa. You know, you want to come at us? Why don't you go get yourself some lunch, big boy? Drive, baby, drive. That's a hardcore moonbat, Bruce. But go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, so 2 goods make a bad. And you go for the bull to get the horns. I'm sick of this crap, Jeff. I didn't even watch the football game. I was watching the news. And that poor guy, he's going to be hunted by these creeps. They're like the Walking Dead, Jeff. They're like liberalism, communism, same thing. It's a mental disorder. They're possessed by the devil.
Well, Bruce, just to reinforce what you're saying, the ICE agent is now underground. He's received countless death threats since he was doxxed by the media. They're threatening to kill. These are now Democrats. These are liberals. Antifa as well. They're threatening to murder him, his Filipino wife, his children. There's a bounty now that has been put on his head. So they are trying to hunt him down. They want to find him and they vow they're going to tear him apart limb from limb. And that's why the ICE is not disclosing his location or where they've moved him, just that he is now in fear for his life. So this is what the media and the Democrats have unleashed. And by the way, all in the name of a woman who had no business being there, all in the name of a woman who was clearly guilty, clearly was the one that was responsible for what happened, and the ICE operation that she was deliberately impeding was trying to capture an illegal Somalian rapist. So essentially she died to attempt to shield and protect a freaking rapist. I mean, Bruce, it doesn't get more insane than this.
Jeff, what they ought to do is take all these activists and lock them up in a detention center with these rapists and murderers and Somalis and all these other third world sons of guns. And you know, they play this game. Now look at poor Lorena Bobbitt. She didn't do a darn thing. She got shot, and they didn't. They cheered about that. Remember that?
Well, and look at Laken Riley. Look at Joycelyn Nungare. I mean, I could go on and on. No, look, Bruce, I think we have to stare reality in the face. And I know it's very unpleasant, but I think, look, if I'm not here to speak the truth, then honestly, what's the point of me being behind this microphone? Had Renee Good succeeded in running over Jonathan Ross, the ICE agent, the left would be celebrating. Democrats would be celebrating. Who are we kidding? Who are we kidding? The media would be celebrating. Liberals would be celebrating and say, good, he had it coming. Good. Maybe now they're going to run out of Minneapolis. That was their intent. Their intent has been to intimidate ICE from the very beginning. That's why they keep attacking them, assaulting them, boxing them in, ramming their vehicles into them. So they're trying to frighten and intimidate and bully and scare off ICE. They're trying to make an example out of a couple of agents. If you know what's good for you, don't do your job. Don't arrest these violent criminal illegals because you're the one that could end up getting killed. And now they've, the blowback hit them and now they're angry. And look, the most vile thing I've ever heard are the protesters and their slogans. Hang Kristi Noem? Save a life, kill an ICE? They're openly calling now for ICE agents to be murdered? They're openly calling for ICE agents to be burned alive? And the media is defending this? And Jacob Frey and Tim Walz is defending this? I mean, look, what you're seeing now is the end of civilization in Minneapolis. You're watching the downfall of a great city. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. And you're watching now a descent into pure barbarism and political blind hatred. Minnesota is becoming like Venezuela. That's what this is. And this mob are like the colectivos, Maduro's thugs that go around and they just assault, attack, murder, kill, pillage, plunder, loot anybody that gets in their way. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Tina in Townsend. Thanks for holding, Tina, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. I agree with everything you guys are saying, and I just wanted to just throw this out. I've been watching sometimes on YouTube some of the, the police pulling people over, DUI, whatever it is, shoplifting, and I really do believe what's happening is, like you said, they're They're making ICE afraid. They're making the police be way too patient. I mean, with my kids, I said my first word is my last. I watched some of these videos, and they're so patient. I couldn't do it. They're like little kids. Like, get out of the car. And they're trying so hard not to take it to a taser, not to take it to put their hands on people. They're being so kind, and so I watch them. I'm like, how are they so nice? These people are just literally like children. And I don't understand why that lady got to sit in the middle of the street, Jeff, for 3 minutes. What? Why wasn't she taken out of her car? Maybe it could have all been avoided. But they're trying to be so nice, Jeff. They're trying to be so cordial. That is over. Get out of the car. Last time, out. That's it.
Tina, I'm up against a hard break. Can you hang on?
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you. Show your face. I'm not mad at you. It's okay. We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the car. Oh!
That, of course, is dramatic new video footage that emerged over the weekend, conclusively showing Renee Good try to run over the ICE agent, and he clearly had no choice but to shoot in self-defense. This is the video, this is the footage that the mainstream media is deliberately trying to suppress. 8:49 now on the great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. Okay, let's go right back to Tina in Townsend. Tina, the Democrats now, as a party, are now demanding that ICE be completely and utterly abolished. I kid you not. They say that we should have no federal immigration law enforcement whatsoever. So I guess all illegals that come in are allowed to stay here. There'll be no way for us to capture or detain them. And in fact, now they so want to abolish ICE. Listen now to this. Here is Democrat Congresswoman Angie Craig on This Is CNN, now saying the Democrats will shut the government down at the end of January, early February, over defunding ICE. They are willing to shut the government down in order to have ICE completely defunded and abolished. I want to play the cut, get your reaction. Roll cut 15, Mike.
Congresswoman, we're hearing that some Democrats are threatening to shut down the government unless Congress tries to curb some of the powers from ICE. It's very unlikely, as you said, that Republicans would join in and to support that. But do you support that idea?
Well, look, I think we're going to get into those budget discussions here later this month. Look, I think the lack of following the rule of law by this administration is egregious. And I think that while all options have to be on the table, that we're going to look to Hakeem Jeffries and Democratic leadership for our guidance here, just like we did when we made sure that the American people knew that the affordability crisis is on, especially related to health care, is on the backs of this Republican Party.
So basically now the Democrats are seriously considering a government shutdown over defunding and abolishing ICE. Tina, how radical are the Democrats willing, how radical have they become? How far are they willing to go? And do you think now that the American public wants to get rid of ICE completely? In other words, 25, 30 million illegals get to stay, including the rapists, the child molesters, the drug traffickers. In other words, we will not have a border. If the Democrats get their way, the United States as a nation will cease to exist because we will have no borders, no sovereignty, no law enforcement to deport illegal aliens out of our country. What say you?
Well, one, did you hear her? She said rule of law. And let's just talk about defining the terms. They're talking about this being not following the rule of law. That's where we are so on the opposite of them, Jeff. Their definitions are their own. They make them up in their mind. And you can't argue with people like this. But we voted for Trump. We voted for getting people who are not here. My father was a legal alien. Legal. He did everything he was supposed to do. And so we're never going to change their minds. But I have to believe, that whether you're Democrat or Republican or independent or whatever you are, that you have got to look at this, if you have a sane mind and you're not clouded by hatred and evil, that is not going to happen in this country, because we have more people in this country who love America, who love immigration, immigrants. That's what we were built on. My father was one. But we cannot allow children to run our country. Child adults is what I'm saying. So, no, I don't think that's going to happen, but it's going to be a fight, Jeff. And we're going to have to start standing up to the children. My first word is my last. Get out of the car.
Tina, I'm with you all the way. All the way. Tina, thank you so much for that call. No, look, to me, it's quite obvious. You look at so many of these, and I'm putting this in air quotes, protesters. They're thugs. They're rioters. They're insurrectionists. They're terrorists. There's no question. So you look at these anti-ICE rioters on the streets. You could tell most of them were never sent to their room, were never punished because they behaved in absolutely brutal, barbaric, uncivilized ways. You know, when my kids are uncivilized, I sent them to their room. And you're going to stay in your room until you realize that you don't, treat people the way you just want to treat them. That you could tell that didn't happen to these people. Whatever, the parenting just was not there. You can see that. And they think they can just throw temper tantrum after temper tantrum. Forget the assaults on ICE. Okay? Just let that go. I'm just talking about the way they confront local police and state police, walking right up to them, spitting in their faces, yelling, screaming, get the F out of here. We don't need no effing police. They punched law enforcement officers in the face. Again, I'm not talking ICE. I'm talking members of the Minneapolis Police Department. They're ransacking hotels. They're destroying hotels. They're going through, smashing windows, going into the lobbies, hunting for ICE agents. They're blocking roads, boulevards. And the police said, well, no, you're destroying property. Come on, the hotel owners, the managers are calling. What the hell's wrong with you people? Businesses are calling, saying, we can't get in, we can't get out. The roads are blocked, the boulevards are blocked. And they're walking up to them. F you, get the F out of here. We don't effing need you. So they're anarchists. They want no police, no law and order, none. The mob, it's mob rule. That's what's taking place in Minneapolis. And the police, with their tails between their legs, leave. And you're telling me this is leadership from Frey and Waltz and the Democrats? Are you kidding me? They've surrendered to the mob. But my point is a personal one. What kind of a family raises a child to just walk up to law enforcement and tell them to go F themselves right to their face, to spit on them, to punch them, to throw objects at them, to literally force them out, to chase them out of downtown Minneapolis? Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. Now, the anarchy is spreading. And this is the danger. It's like a cancer. Listen now, this is a Philadelphia sheriff. So Philadelphia, like Minneapolis, like Boston, like New York, like Portland. By the way, speaking of Portland, they're all sanctuary cities. Okay, they're all sanctuary cities. Speaking of Portland, I have to mention this. Did you see the unbelievable press conference with the police chief of Portland? So you have a couple, a man and a woman, both members of Tren de Aragua. They're gangbangers. Both are running a prostitution, sex trafficking, drug trafficking ring. So he's a pimp. I don't know if she's one of his prostitutes or whatever. They're running prostitution. They're trafficking women, okay, illegally, to slavery, and they're peddling drugs on the streets. ICE wants to arrest them. They're here illegally. ICE then tries to stop the vehicle. Again, they try to run them over. That's the new thing now. You just run ICE agents over. So they hit the gas pedal, and they try to ram and run over the officer. The officer, again, in a defensive shooting, like in Minneapolis, shoots both the driver and the passenger, the man and the woman. The police chief cries at the press conference. He's crying. Not because the ICE agent was almost run over and had to use his weapon. No. He's crying because he said that the two Tren de Aragua illegals were shot. And now the mayor of Portland, if you can believe it, is trying to mimic Waltz. Sorry, the mayor of Portland is trying to mimic Frey. The governor of Oregon is trying to mimic Waltz, saying ICE needs to get out of Portland and get out of Oregon. They're openly siding with Tren de Aragua. They're siding with gangbangers. I don't know what else. I don't know what else to tell you. Now, on the other coast, so that's happening in Portland. The anarchy is spreading. Now in Philadelphia, which is another sanctuary city, with a Soros-backed DA, okay? There's a sheriff. Listen to this. This is a Philadelphia sheriff, Rochelle Bilal. It's Bilal. So Bilal, however you pronounce her last name. This is now her threatening ICE agents. Local law enforcement, the sheriff, is telling ICE, you come into our city and you think you're going to arrest illegals? You think you're going to arrest murderers and drug traffickers and gangbangers and sex predators? We're not only going to arrest you. She actually says, she threatens this. We're going to smoke you. We're going to kill you. Listen to this. This is the sheriff of Philadelphia. Roll cut 28, Mike.
We are not going to whisk you away for them to hide your identity, because when you do it there, you're getting arrested. And so we stand here today with all those who stand against the made-up, fake, what you can call ICE, professional law enforcement. I don't call them none of that. If them want to come in this city and commit a crime, you will not be able to hide. You don't want this smoke, because we will bring it.
She's threatening ICE agents. I've never seen this before in the history of the United States. And by the way, I'm not the only one. Commentators are saying this. Local law, outside of the Civil War, outside of the South, beginning in 1860, started in South Carolina, it spread across the Confederacy, but in South Carolina was the first state where local and state law enforcement threatened federal law enforcement. Outside of the Civil War and secession. I've never seen this. I've never seen this. And what's stunning is, who are they defending? Remember this. The worst of the worst. who are in our country illegally. This is not an insurrection? This is not a rebellion against the federal government and federal authority and legitimate federal law enforcement? This is not ultimately a rebellion against the election? Are you kidding me? She should be fired on the spot. On the spot. Now, very quickly, ICE Director Todd Lyons went on Fox to respond to this Philly sheriff, Rochelle, Bilal, and her threats to ICE. Now, again, you tell me if this is not all starting to look a little bit too much like 1859, 1860. Except replace South Carolina with Minnesota, or in this case, Philadelphia. But you've got the Republicans led by Lincoln saying, don't do it. And you've got the Democrats in the South saying, we don't recognize your authority. And we are going to defy you and let the consequences come. Listen now to Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons saying, you think you're going to arrest and shoot at ICE agents? You think you're going to, quote, bring the smoke? Roll cut 28A, Mike.
First off, Guy, anytime you pit law enforcement officers against law enforcement officers, it makes nobody safe. This is the exact type of political rhetoric that I've been saying ever since I had the opportunity to be the ICE director, that this increased rhetoric is what's causing the issues right now. You can't pit a local law enforcement officer against a federal law enforcement officer. We are out there trying to do a lawful law enforcement mission, and this rhetoric right here is pure example of what we're facing every day. And I'm not one for like big banter or bluster, but my message to the sheriff is try it. Try arrest my folks. Let's see what happens.
It's getting serious. It's getting serious. Now, look, let me just say one last point. And look, I hope this gets diffused. I don't like the road that we're on. Who does? But this is now becoming constant social unrest. This is now happening again and again. They're refusing to accept the victory of Donald Trump. That's what this is. The way the Democrats refuse to accept the victory and the agenda of Abraham Lincoln. He won on the border. He won on mass deportations. It was a cornerstone of his election. And they're basically saying, well, you can send them into the states, the blue states, the sanctuary cities, but we are now in rebellion. We're not just not cooperating. Now we're going to obstruct and defy. And if need be now, we're going to arrest ICE agents. Now, some idiot, and it's only remember I said this. I said someone's going to get killed. And now Renee Good is dead. I said you keep impeding ICE under the pressure that they're under, where they're constantly being harassed and persecuted. And remember, they're arresting some of the most dangerous criminals on the planet. To going after MS-13, to going after murderers, to going after Tren de Aragua, to going after drug traffickers and drug dealers and the drug cartels. So it's an incredibly risky, high-stress, dangerous job and operation to begin with. Never mind having these idiot activists blowing horns and whistles and blocking you and spitting at you and throwing objects at you, okay, and reporting you so these people get away. So they're almost put in an impossible situation. I said eventually someone's going to get killed. Well, that's what happened. Okay, now, eventually, this is just common sense. Eventually, some idiot sheriff like that woman, some woke, crazy sheriff, is going to order an ICE agent to be arrested. Or many of them to be arrested. And then the question is, what is ICE going to do? Are they going to allow themselves to be arrested? Or are they going to shoot? In other words, what I'm saying is the possibility now, this is not hyperbole or melodrama. What is going to happen if law enforcement and ICE begin to clash? We're going to have street-to-street fighting? Block to block? Agency versus agency? City police versus federal agents? The Democrats are playing with fire. And I mean real fire. And I blame the media. I blame the media. Because they're inciting and inciting and inciting, and they are lying and lying and lying. And I'm telling you, the way this constant demonization of ICE, you have to see what's out on X, what's out on social media. You mention ICE, bang, Nazi. Bang, Gestapo. Bang, mass murderers. Ah! They're making them like rabid zombies. I swear it's like a horror movie. Get out of my city. Get out of my city. Get out of my city. The hatred, the vitriol. I'm telling you, the only thing they're not doing is biting agents on the neck. Like in the movies. Because you lost an election? Because we're kicking out illegal aliens from our country? Because we're restoring law and order? I have come to this sad conclusion. And it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. But truth is truth is truth. And as they say, the truth shall set you free. So let's be free. The Democrats brought a civil war to this country once. Slavery was created by the Democrats, defended by the Democrats. Secession was pushed by the Democrats. The Confederacy was run by Democrats. Let's be clear. On the historical record, let us be crystal clear. The party of secession and civil war was the Democrat Party. Period. Full stop. As they were the party of slavery, and after that, Jim Crow and segregation. Let's be clear. I believe now that a substantial minority, if not a tacit majority of Democrats now, would rather burn this country down, a la 1860, than see President Trump succeed as President of the United States. I believe now many of them are actively working to foment not just chaos and anarchy, but out and out violence, and if it needs be, even civil war. This is how irresponsible, how reckless, but even worse, how deranged, how insane, and how obsessed with power, and how evil they have now become. Let's go right to Tony in Quincy. Thanks for holding, Tony, and welcome.
Jeff, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Tony?
Pretty good. I would have to say that I agree with your take on the incident itself, and I think that finally you got to what's the larger thing, which is even going as far as civil war. The goal of these little incidents is to destabilize the area, which weakens America, which makes us have no choice but to accept being absorbed by a global governing structure. So what we have to do is you have to get the funding of the protesters. I think there's probably a bonus structure if one of these protesters gets on TV. How do you get on TV? You make signs that are very provocative that suggest killing our authorities. You get on camera by driving at an ICE agent. You're not expecting to get killed. You're expecting to get a bonus because you're already there as a paid protester. So who's funding that? We know people like Soros. We know like Reid Hoffman. What they really wanted more than anything was a distraction from the fraud. And they got that. But now they also got this video clip that they can use in the fight. And they're looking towards civil war. And at the bottom line of all of it is that in Trump's DOJ, nobody gets punished for anything. So they'll take whatever they can get out of the Susan Goodins, or what's her name? Renee Good. Renee Nicole Good. So they're all done with her. She served her purpose, and it cost them whatever. And the payout, if you give your life on that side of the struggle, obviously, is what'd you say? It was $1.5 million right now on GoFundMe. They get paid for agitating. They're doing this on purpose. It's not even they probably have to make ends meet, because that's where our economic structure is, especially in Minnesota, where they've totally bankrupted the state through fraud. Okay, so this woman probably has to go out and make that money. So she wants extra money. So she tries to get on TV. This is all coordinated. We're not going after the funders. We're allowing for the distractions, and Trump's DOJ does absolutely nothing but takes it on the jaw. At the very least, they just got rid of one of our very best ICE agents. That was your description of them. They have taken so much in this little incident from this war by our inaction. And every time we talk about Pam Bondi, what we say is Pam Bondi's so useless. She's so ineffective. She's incompetent. Okay, but she's been that for a long time, and this is the third AG. And the three constants beyond who the AG is Trump, the DOJ, and nobody gets in trouble for anything. So everybody does whatever they want, whatever they can get away with. And when times get tough, they provoke a protest, which we back down from, and they get away with it time and time. Even just one of your intros, they cook the books. Did anyone get in trouble? Do they ever get in trouble? They get caught. They get exposed. They don't ever get in trouble. And the three constants are Trump, DOJ, and no punishment.
Drop the mic. I'm telling you, Tony, call of the week. Call of the week. Now, I cursed you because if I say call of the week, Mike is deliberately not going to make you caller of the week. But I'm telling you, Tony, whether you get the award or not, call of the week. Absolutely, you're dead on. Look, this is why they keep doing it, because they never get punished for it. And never mind the big crimes, just intimidating and harassing and obstructing ICE. That's why it's gotten to this point. Why were they allowed to keep doing this again and again and again? In Boston, in New York, in Chicago, in Portland, in LA. I'm not just talking Minneapolis. So these anti-ICE activists said, there's no consequences. Guys, keep going. Push the envelope. Keep pushing. Keep pushing. To your larger point, you're right. No matter what crimes Democrats commit, they never go to jail. Never. And the DOJ does nothing. Nothing. Ever. And then the Somali fraud. $9 billion and counting in Minnesota. We're talking massive fraud that we believe now is in almost every blue state. We're talking at least $700 billion across the country every year of our money. And boom, you need an incident to get that story off the front page? There it is. There it is. How much time left, Mike? Okay, I'm going to read this on the other side. Someone sent me a Facebook post. Please, all of you, you got to hear it. Because it's true. They just got rewarded. Rebecca Good now on GoFundMe. The left has now raised over $1.5 million. She's got $1.5 million. The woman's on the verge of becoming not a millionaire, a multimillionaire. So not only does it pay in the sense that you never get arrested, and that these agitators are all being paid by George Soros and others. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this was sent to me from Marianne. She's a big fan of the show. She listens out in Florida. And she said, Jeff, this is what I read on Facebook. It's a post. It's going everywhere. It's not my Facebook post, but I wanted to share it with you because I couldn't agree more. And so I just want to read it to all of you because I feel the same. I agree with this, not 100, but 1,000%. And it goes off of what Tony's point was just before the break. I'm going to say it plain and simple. The $1.5 million GoFundMe should not be going to the wife. And I'll be honest, I don't trust the wife to use a single dollar to help those kids. She was an agitator. She escalated the entire situation. She was yelling, "Drive, baby, drive," and pushing everything toward disaster. The children are the ones who lost the most, and they're the only ones who deserve support. The wife shouldn't be rewarded with millions. She shouldn't be collecting a payday for chaos she helped fuel. She should be facing charges, not receiving GoFundMe money. She helped create the situation, and she should be held accountable for it, not enriched by it. And the last thing this community needs is her using that money to keep stirring up more anti-ICE protests. Bingo. Bingo. Not only should she not be getting the money, she should be in handcuffs. Now, just very quickly, it's a sidebar, but I think it's a very interesting sidebar because I think it says a lot about our society, our culture, frankly, our country, at least for Democrats and those on the left. Now, let me just say this. Growing up in the 70s, in the 80s, even in the 90s, whatever, you know, my parents, all of the adults I knew, and I don't just mean family and friends, school teachers, people in public, how they behaved. By the way, I attended protests when I was a student or whatever. Not that I participated, but, you know, I would listen to speakers or whatever. The level of profanity, the swearing, the constant use of the F-bomb, and saying some of the most vile, obscene things. I never heard this growing up. Maybe you'd hear the occasional F-bomb at a protest or something, and that was considered, you know, okay, boy, you really made your point. But if you look at many of these, these rioters and these anti-ICE insurrectionists, these so-called these vigilantes, okay, that are rampaging in Minnesota, many of them are middle-aged. Some are younger, true, but most of them are middle-aged or older. And by the way, they're paid professionals. There's one woman in her 60s who's admitted this is her 100th protest. 100. She goes, oh yeah, no, it doesn't matter. New York, she mentions Boston, Chicago, LA. I go where they send me. So these are paid agitators, paid professionals, okay? But let that go. I mean, the mouths on these people. So I just want to read this from 603. Jeff, this was something my wife and I discussed last night over dinner as it pertains to these protesters around the country. A good percentage of these people are middle-aged and beyond. True. The point we were making was this. When we were kids, do you remember adults acting like this? Much less a large number of adults out there today carrying on this way? And what must the children of today think when they see these old liberals acting this way? Spitting, shouting, screaming, swearing, bumping up against police. This is like a 65, 70-year-old, old lady or an old man bumping up against an ICE officer, spitting at him, throwing objects at him. You know? F you, go F yourself, F you, no mother effer. You're like, and you eat with that dirty mouth. And so this is the example you're setting to your kids and your grandkids, to the kids out there. People are wondering, how come kids today, why do they, every second word is the F word? Well, look at all these baby boomers. Look at the way these liberals and leftists, and this is middle-aged and above. Look at the mouth on them. They're just following the example of their elders. Now, very quick, because I want to go to Ronnie in Boston and other phones. Here, this was in the Minnesota state capitol. Border Patrol Chief Greg Bovino just finished an interview with Laura Ingraham on Fox. And there's a Minnesota state rep, an uber Democrat. Her name is Sandra Feist. She's got to be in her 30s, maybe 40s, but definitely in her 30s. This is a grown woman. Look at the dirty mouth on her. Look at the language. Roll cut 21. Mike.
Kids have a right to have this. Yeah, for you cursing like the state representative, did your parents teach you that? Or where did you learn such foul language? Such a simple question. I'm asking you, guys. Simple question there. Yeah. Yes. Where did you learn how to it's very interesting when we make your community safer. Your residents thank us, but you don't know that as a representative, do you?
Could you explain to me why are you not arresting criminals? Why are so few of the people that you have arrested, detained, and deported people with criminal records?
They're all criminals. They've all crossed the border illegally.
Crossing the border illegally is a civil offense.
No, 18 U.S.C. 1325 illegal entry. That's a federal crime. Yes.
He destroyed her. I mean, he destroyed her. Okay, it was a masterclass. But my point is, here's a woman, at least in her 30s, if not in her 40s, walking up to a law enforcement officer after he just finished a media interview, and right away dropping the F-bomb. Right away. F you. Go F yourself. And he's like, what? And you're a state representative? And then she's ignorant. On top of it all, she's dumb as a box of rocks. But my point is, what happened? Like, when did swearing and profanity and obscenity suddenly become so? And have you noticed Schumer does it? Hakeem Jeffries does it? Pelosi does it? Hillary does it? I mean, I could go, Kamala does it. It's Chris Murphy, that lunatic from Connecticut. It's just F-bomb, 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 F-bomb. Every second word, F this, F that, F you, F that. And these are, members of Congress. These are governors. These are presidential candidates. And this is how you talk? And they think it's cool and tough. Honestly, it's pathetic. Ronnie in Boston. Thanks for holding, Ronnie. And welcome.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Kuhner Country. Hey, how you doing? I just want to ask real quickly, Jeff, I hope you're still being fed dinner at home. I hope everything's okay. I hope the better half is still cooking for you because Venezuela has such bueno credito. But seriously, Jeff, I have a very different take on all of this than you. With all due respect, when I look at this incident and these protests, what comes to mind for me is that the Democrat Party and the Democrat outrage machine has never been more depleted or defeated than it is right now. You're talking about these protests like it's 2008, when Democrats could put 50,000 men on the streets at the drop of a hat. And they controlled the message, and they controlled the means of delivery of that message. But it's 2026 now, Jeff, and the shock troops that are going to win the Civil War for Democrats, at every single one of these protests, it's 80% women or men that think they're women. This is all undateable, unhireable feminist Democrat women and alphabet soup nutters, Jeff. That's all that's left for the Democrat Party to put out on the streets. It's so bad that Minnesota had to close all the schools to put bodies on the street. America has no appetite.
Ronnie, I'm up against a break. You are on a roll, my friend. Please hang on. Let's go right back to Ronnie in Boston. Ronnie's taking a very different view of all this, frankly, a fascinating view. Ronnie's saying what we're watching now is the death of the Democrat outrage machine. All they've got now are old, bitter feminist women and men who look like women. They can't put bodies on the streets anymore. This is the dying gasp of a dying party. Ronnie, please pick up where you left off.
Well, thank you for holding me over, Jeff, and you summed up my position perfectly. And when you look at all the protests outside of Minnesota, Jeff, they really do have the feel and vibe of like supervised outdoor time at the asylum than an actual protest. And the media has completely given up on trying to interview protesters because they're all lunatics, Jeff. And they look, Jeff, without men, you can't build anything, you can't fight anything, and you cannot lead. And these protests have completely exposed that Democrats have no men left, Jeff. They have no men left. That's why all of their so-called terrorists are all crazy females, Jeff. They're all crazy females. And this isn't my opinion. This is right there on all of these videos, Jeff. This is this is what they've come down to on the Democrat Party. These are the only people left that they can mobilize, are unstable, crazy people. And my final thought, and also it wouldn't matter what race these two women were either, because America has no more appetite for fake race baiting outrage either. It's 2026. We're all over it. But you also mentioned the money and how the $1.5 million is like a reward to this woman. And let me tell you something, Jeff, no matter what side of this issue that you're on, the one fact that remains constant is that Renee Good lost her life engaging in reckless, illegal behavior that her wife planned, incited, and encouraged. And all that money will hasten her wife Rebecca's decline. That woman is at such a high likelihood of entering the self-checkout aisle, if you catch my meaning. Where do you even begin to live with something like that? Being completely responsible for why the love of your life is gone and 3 kids don't have a mother. How do you even start to live with that? I'm sure she'll try to blame ICE or cope, like that. But I'm sorry. It's almost like I pity her too much to be angry, because I don't even know where you begin living. Does she look like somebody that's built to live the rest of her life carrying a burden like that, Jeff? And that's true right across all of these Democrat protesters. They are weak. They are feminist lunatics, nutter lunatics. And the Democrat outrage machine is over, Jeff. It's completely over.
Well, what do you say to the argument, Lonnie? And again, you're being very, as usual, very eloquent, very articulate, and again, very original, that she's being told over and over again by her friends, her family, all these anti-ICE haters and activists, by the media, by the Democrats, that this wasn't her fault, that this was all the fault of ICE, the fault of Donald Trump, the fault of the agent himself, Jonathan Ross. So if she keeps being told it's not her fault, is she really going to carry this guilt? Or is she just going to say, yeah, I have nothing to do with it. ICE is to blame. What say you?
Well, she knows in her soul that that's not true, Jeff. And just like any of us, switch it all around. It was 2 Trump supporters that rammed their car into Capitol Police, and you encouraged it the whole time, planned it the whole time, fueled it the whole time, filmed it the whole time. What comfort would you possibly take if the love of your life and mother of your children lost their life in that? What comfort could you possibly take? Because no matter whether you think the Capitol Police were wrong or ICE was wrong or whatever, the fact remains, that they were doing exactly what you planned for them to do, exactly what you incited for them to do, exactly what you encouraged them to do. That wife will take no comfort in anything. She'll be heavily self-medicated for the rest of her life, and I'm actually going to pray for her. But yeah, Jeff, the overall arching theme is that this is laid bare that the Democrat Party is just about out of gas, Jeff.
Lonnie, we got 1 minute left. Very quick. Do you think Trump should send in the National Guard and restore law and order in Minneapolis, or should he just let this thing peter out?
I would say, look, it's, a previous caller said, why are they, being so patient? Why are they? Because it's all women, Jeff. That's why they're being so patient. They're dealing with mostly crazy women that pose no threat at all, except obviously like if you're in your car or something like that. But
Lonnie, I got to tell you, really interesting call. Really, really interesting call.